Hello, and thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Our show is brought to you each week by our friends at Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have any tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal has you covered. They've also got a special for the next 21 days. If you will mention that you heard this on our show, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal will give you an additional 10% off the quoted price. Give Keith a call at 229-314-2048 or at 229-938-2412. Harper's Tree and Stump Removal is the proud premier sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, and sports administrators. Now, here's your host, Tim Estes.
Welcome back to the Integrity Sports Podcast. Our program is available each week on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, and on LinkedIn, as well as several other social media platforms. This program has exploded over the past few months, as now 15 weeks in a row, we've been over 3,000 views. We want to thank you for that. Remember today to like and share this video, whichever platform that you're watching on. And please go to our YouTube page and hit the subscribe button. Help us to reach that 1,000 subscriber mark. We've got a great show lined up for you today, and our guest is somebody that really made her mark in a very short period of time here in Southwest Georgia. She was the head women's basketball coach at Georgia Southwestern, and now Coach Hana Haden is the head women's coach at Georgia Southern down in Statesboro. Hana, great to have you back with us. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me on, Tim.
Hana, the last time that you and I were on this show together, you were getting ready to take the Lady Hurricanes to the NCAA Division II National Tournament. Before we get into your current situation, I thought it'd be kind of neat to talk to you just about your brief time in Americus and your memories here and that great run that you and your ladies had.
Yeah, it's really special to look back on that, last year, the season, and just the year in itself. And, Americus honestly is a place I don't think I'd ever heard of. Now I knew Justin Payne, obviously, and Kayla Langley coming down to GSW from Moberly. So I guess I had heard of it, but, didn't think that I would ever end up there. And I'm just so grateful that I did. The people make the place. And so thinking about just the impact that Mike Leader, and his family, have kind of become extended family for me, Mike and Jody and their kids, Alyssa and Michael, and, even Dr. Weaver and Christy Weaver,
right.
The impact they had on me, Miss Deborah, Nikki Levering. Like there's been, people that have just had a big impact on me last year. Obviously Nikki is now, on doing big things at Georgia Highlands, but, I think it's just that kind of place. And I think working for a leader like Mike Leader, who wants to develop leaders and send people on to kind of the next thing. And, just a really special opportunity to have a chance to work with him and know him. He's still really one of my closest mentors and somebody I talk with on a daily basis. I want to mention Friendship Missionary Baptist Church. I think about that all the time last year. I thought that they were such a huge part of our season. We just started attending, and, the girls and I went, together every Sunday, and they came to our games, and it was just a really special relationship. And we actually gave them a championship ring, last year, just because we just felt like that they were just a huge part of our success. And then, just thinking about the season and how special that group was. And, I said it all year last year when people were asking about our success, and it's just like we had the right people. We had people that really just winning, the sisterhood. They put, the team before themselves. We had a lot of players that would have been starters at a lot of other places. And they sacrificed, themselves in their own role for the greater good. And just thinking about like players that came off of our bench, Lexi McCulley as a starter at Southeast Missouri State, Leanna Massonet is starting at Jackson State. Like we had players last year that are starters at Division I schools this year. And So just, I think it was the most rewarding and enjoyable year of my coaching career, and I think about it often.
Well, now here we are a year later, Hana, and I look at your career. I know you've been at the NAIA level some. You coached at a junior college level. Last year here at Georgia Southwestern, that's NCAA Division II. And now 1 year later, here you are at the Division I level, kind of every coach's dream, I would guess. How's that transition going for you?
It's been a challenging year, to be honest. And, a lot of people talk about year one, and there's so many factors that go into it, right? Like everyone talked with me about, hey, the basketball, that will be like the smallest of the transitions. When you become a Division I head coach and you're a CEO of your program and you have so many people that you're managing, that's what everybody's telling me. It's really more about managing people, whether that's staff and players, and definitely found that to be true. Just having so many people with their hands in your program, which is awesome. The resources that we have and the people that are there to support, for myself, whether it was the NAI head coach, like you mentioned, or JUCO, or even last year at GSW, I had control of every little thing. And, I just had my hands in everything. I would say just to more of an extent than I do now. I think at the Division I level, you're just pulled in a lot of different directions. And, thinking about last year at GSW, we talked about, GSW is really big on community engagement. And, it's a small athletic department. So sometimes we're working soccer games and we're doing things like that. And you don't even realize how much it's helping the team build and things like that. And, this year at Georgia Southern, if the girls have an event, I might have something else. And so I'm not even at those things. So just a difference there. But, I just think about this year in the transition, we're really trying to lay the foundation for what we want in the program. We have one returner off of last year's team and a lot of new faces. Actually, a lot of players that I coached before at the junior college level. And just to be transparent, I think I maybe overestimated how much that familiarity maybe would help us. And, I had to take into consideration that a lot of those players, it's 1 or 2 years ago, and they had all moved on to different places and developed, different roles and different strengths and weaknesses. And so kind of putting all that back together, along with other transfers and things, it's just taking some time to mesh. And so we have won 3 out of our last 4 games. And we've talked about all year about, hey, we're just trying to get better each day, win the next game, and play our best basketball in March. So we certainly haven't had to worry about peaking too early with this group, but we have won a couple late, and we've been efficient on the offensive end, and so we're hoping to be able to keep that going.
If you just logged on, we are talking with Hana Haden, the head women's basketball coach at Georgia Southern. Our show each week is brought to you in part by One Digital Solutions. They're a steward for business growth and personal development. They provide a tech-enabled solution for a work-life balance in things like human resource management, employee benefits, and financial services. They really are everything all in one. They're One Digital. Give Will Peterson a call today. His number is 229-347-6289, and let One Digital begin helping you. Coach Hana, you and I share a friend by the name of James Frey. James is now an assistant out at New Mexico State, and I've had several private conversations with Coach Frey, as well as him being a part of this show. And he tells me that the daily grind at the Division I level is just so much more intense. I'm curious to kind of hear your take on that as well. When you go through a typical day at the level that you're at in Division I and compare it to, say, JUCO or even the Division II level, what's that grind like?
Yeah, I would say just there's a lot of meetings at this level. Geez, right? We always want to meet about something, right? A lot of different administrative responsibilities. Again, there's so many, I think, just more components of the program, right? Like places that I've been in the past, I'm the academic coordinator, I'm the sports psychologist, I'm the bus driver, I'm doing all the operations, just things like that. And, so now at this level, yeah, I just say that, you're not just sitting in your office thinking about basketball all day. Not to say that that's what we were doing, at GSW or JUCO either, but you do have more time for things like that. And now, like, your day will probably be pretty busy with meetings with all of those things, right? You have to have your meeting with your academic coordinator and make sure that everything is going well there. You get your meeting with your sports psychologist and see different things you need to do, or maybe it's a board meeting or meeting with donors. And so I think just being pulled in a lot of different directions because there are so many more, again, in the program, and things that you have to stay on top of. Recruiting, I think, starts a little bit earlier at the Division I level. Division II and JUCO, we're kind of always just recruiting that current class. And now if you're only recruiting the current class, you're a little bit behind. So you have to really stay out ahead of the recruiting and recruit players a lot earlier in their high school careers. So yeah, just a lot of components like that. I'd say grinds are a little bit different. I know he's been like me at the JUCO level. He's been the bus driver and things like that too. So it's nice that you're not driving the bus. Some of this Sunbelt travel is brutal with just the different places that we fly, and a lot of Sunbelt schools are not in locations that have the closest airports and things like that. So I would say even the travel is a little bit of a different grind in a different way.
Yeah. Hana, talk to me a little bit about your team this year. I will tell you this. There's a lot of folks in Americus that know that you and I kind of became friends during your time here. And on more than one occasion, somebody has come up and said, hey, have you heard anything from Hana? How are they doing? Is Georgia Southern winning this year? So kind of give us a take on your team this year. What have they struggled with and what have they done really well?
Yeah, well, I would say with both of those things, what we've struggled with and what we've done well, it's kind of been up and down. We've been consistently inconsistent, I would say. We've had started off the year offensively pretty hot. First couple of games, I think, getting in the 80s, and then our offense fell off a little bit, and we still won a couple games because we were really defending at a high level. And then we kind of went off the rails on both ends and trying to bring it back together. And I think it's attributed to a lot of different things. It definitely hasn't helped us that we've had some pretty inconsistent lineups, with players in and out for a variety of different reasons. Leah Johnson, which is somebody that our Canes fans are familiar with. She was the Peach Belt Defensive Player of the Year last year. And say for somebody like Leah, who is still the biggest player, she's the biggest post player in the Sun Belt Conference. The transition for her, as far as size-wise, has been really similar. Again, she still has a size advantage in pretty much every game. But kind of the difference has been in the Sun Belt, a lot of players most teams are playing small ball, right? They're playing very modern basketball. They're playing 5 out. They're shooting the 3. So it's kind of made it hard not to, it's not Leah's fault, but it's kind of made it hard to even consistently have her in the lineup, because even if she can come down and give us 2 points every time, we're giving up 3 on the other end. We're still coming out behind there. So I think we've kind of struggled to kind of find our stride. Again, we've won 3 out of the last 4, and we've finally started to be efficient on both ends of the floor. We've gotten a lot better offensively. If we can take care of the ball, then we've got a really good shot to score, because we've been very efficient with our percentages. But I think, again, consistency in those lineups at first hampered us with finding our identity as a team. And since we've been able to gain that a little bit in the last few games, we're kind of hitting a stretch here where we just had our best game of the year on Saturday. We put up 95 of South Alabama, had 4 people in double figures, and our point guard was flirting with a triple-double. And so those are things that you want to see late in the season. And we've seen some of the other teams in the Sun Belt that started out really hot might be fizzling out a little bit, or just haven't been maybe shooting the ball as well lately, or getting points and things like that. And so we're just we're trying to gain some momentum here, again, coming off a 95-point performance on Saturday, and try to continue to build on that. Again, we know that in March and postseason, it's not always the best team or the team that's had the best season. It's whoever's playing the best at that time.
Hana, you and your team had a really tough game at Coastal Carolina last night. Now you're on the road to Old Dominion. Talk a little bit about the Sun Belt and your idea of the future for Georgia Southern women's basketball.
Yeah, so, kind of like, following up on the comment with Leah Johnson, and again, she's one of my favorite players I've ever coached. I'd coach her 100 years if I could. She's a senior and she's moving on. And I think we're really kind of turning our attention in the recruiting trail to recruiting a team that can be a little bit more versatile and athletic. to have success in the Sun Belt. Again, we're seeing a lot of teams that are playing 5 out. They're having 5 players on the floor that can all shoot the 3 and put it on the floor. And so, we've signed a couple players, 2 freshmen, one that we thought was going to be kind of a stretch 4 for us. And now after we've kind of been through the league, we're saying she's a 5 player. She's going to play the 5 and she can stretch the 4. She's about 6'1". And that's kind of the Sun Belt. I think we're kind of still seeing the remnants of Kim Caldwell, who ran through the league last year at Marshall and is now doing the same system at Tennessee and has, won some big games, just beat UConn for the first time in a long time at Tennessee. And we're kind of seeing the remnants of that in the Sun Belt. You've got Arkansas State, who's second in the league, that they're playing 5 in, 5 out. They're pressing the entire game, shooting 30-plus threes a game, and that's Kim's style. We're seeing Coastal Carolina does something similar. So I don't know if I'll ever get into the kind of analytics thing, shooting 35 threes a game and things like that. We know that we do need to get more athletic, we have to have more players that can stretch the floor and shoot the ball from the outside, and we have to be able to get out there at the point line.
We are talking with Hana Haden from Georgia Southern. Our show today is also brought to you by Carter's Fried Chicken, located at 206 Tripp Street. They offer breakfast, lunch, and supper. Owner Mike Chattels and his staff support all of our local teams here in the Southwest Georgia area. They've been feeding Southwest Georgia for over 30 years. They offer daily lunch specials that include chicken, pork chops, and vegetables, and they do it all at an affordable price. Go by and see Mike Chattels and all the folks at Carter's Fried Chicken. They're proud to be a 2025 sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast. Hana, I would imagine another one of the big differences in the levels you've been at and now would be your coaching staff. I know when you were here at Southwestern, you basically had one full-time assistant. Give me an idea of what's different there at Georgia Southern.
Yeah, so here at Georgia Southern, I'm able to have 4 full-time positions, plus a graduate assistant. And again, there are just so many other support staff, right? Like we have a full-time strength coach. We have an academic coordinator that travels with our team and runs team study hall and, takes care of the academic side for us. Of course, we have a sports psychologist. We have a nutritionist. We have our own athletic trainer. So just so many people that are kind of at your disposal to help give the student athletes a high level experience. And so, and you need it, at this level to keep up with recruiting, to keep up with your player development, in the era of the transfer portal. I think one of the biggest ways that you need to combat that is to develop your own players. The on-floor coaching, the scouting reports at this level have to be really good. So we rotate our scouting reports, amongst the 3 coaches on staff. And so, again, a lot of those things are things that I'm used to doing myself. And so I think for year one for me has been trying to find the balance of allowing my staff to kind of play to their strengths, right, and utilizing them the right way, but also, making sure that that I have my spin on everything and able to do kind of the things that I feel comfortable doing and the things that I've done in the past and have had success.
So we've talked a good bit about the grind, and Coach, we understand that at your level, coaching is exhausting, and there's got to be people behind the scenes that create that kind of support network for you. When you look at those people, the folks that when you've really had a tough day, or maybe when you've done really well and you want to celebrate something, who are the folks behind the scenes for Hana Haden that keep you lifted up and encouraged?
I'm really blessed to have some great family friends, coaching friends. So, my mom and my grandma, those are always my first calls, and some of my extended family that are watching games. And, it's always nice to get those texts after the game, win or lose, just showing their support. I've had the same best friends since middle school. And, it's always great to have their support. Again, some of my coaching friends, like I have one of my good friends is a former JUCO coach, and she is in her first year as a Division I head coach. And so we've really been able to lean on each other this year. And I also have to say my former players, sometimes I don't even realize how much they keep up. And, maybe after a tough game, to get a text from them, it always means a lot that, they're still watching and supporting, keeping up with us. And I do have to share, so this we lost in a triple overtime game. At home, and that's the first triple overtime game that I've ever been a part of. And if anybody that knows me knows I typically like to wear my high heels whenever I coach. And it was probably a couple minutes into the second overtime, and I looked at my director of operations. I'm like, you got to get me some different shoes. I couldn't even stand up anymore. The game was almost 3 hours long, and my feet were just killing me. I couldn't even stand up. And so the only shoes that I had, she sent one of the managers to our locker, brought me back my Ugg slippers. And so I coached the third overtime in Ugg slippers. And that's whenever I realized how many of my former players were watching that game, because they texted me, hey, tough loss, coach, but those Ugg slippers, that was hilarious. Or a couple of my fashion police players were telling me, please don't do that again. Or the next game they text me, good luck, leave the Uggs at home. So even just little silly fun things like that kind of keep it lighthearted at times, because that is definitely the first game that I've ever had a wardrobe change or change my shoes in the middle, or not. It wasn't the middle of the game. I did make it, I think 50 minutes of basketball in those heels. But yeah, just friends, family, former players, it just means a lot. And I think the other thing with the former players is it kind of especially when you're having a tough season like we are. I mean, we're 14-15, but I haven't lost 15 games in probably my last 7 seasons combined, right? And so just when those former players reach out, and it can kind of remind you, like why I do what I do.
We always knew Hana was going to be color coordinated on the sideline, and she was going to be the best dressed coach in the arena. So we'll have to remember that about the shoes. Our program is brought to you each week by several sponsors. Our final sponsor today was a real supporter of Hana Haden when she was here. That's Marty McDonald with the Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance Agency. Go by and see Marty, Mary Lynn, or any of their fine staff and let them discuss your insurance needs with you. You can reach them by phone at 928-3686 or look them up on Facebook. They can even do the discount double check to make sure you're receiving all of the savings that are available to you. Thanks again to Marty McDonald for sponsoring this segment of the Integrity Sports Podcast. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Hana, it's been a pleasure to have you again. You certainly made quite an impression in 1 year here in Southwest Georgia. People ask about you quite often. I hope you know that a lot of those folks still keep up with you, and they click on the internet every day to find out how Georgia Southern's ladies are doing, mainly because they're not necessarily a Georgia Southern fan. They're a Hana Haden fan. So we got a lot of folks around this area that really appreciate what you did to build the women's game here and are hoping you'll have continued success throughout your career. But thanks again for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me on, Tim.
We want to thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Again, thanks to our sponsors, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. And remember, for 21 more days, they're offering a 10% discount if you mention the Integrity Sports Podcast. One Digital Solutions, Carter's Fried Chicken, and Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance. Remember to like and share this video. Go and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. For my friend, Hana Haden, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.